Let's make a start. So welcome everyone. This is, I think, our 22nd webinar in the last 2 weeks. So it's been going really well. And today we're joined by Hugo, who's an architect, is the architect that we recommend through the company, and also Marco, who's the engineer and the builder. So today we're going to be discussing what it's like to build your own property or refurb a property. I mean, I've worked with these guys now probably for the last 8 years. They've looked after all of our clients and built some really nice properties. So yeah, Hugo, if you want to go first and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Hugo. I'm, as Chris told you, I'm the architect that normally works with Ideal Homes, and we are based in Villasol, close to Ideal Homes office as well, and that's it basically.
And then Marco, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Marco. I'm a civil engineer and I've been basically building houses here in the Algarve since the year 2000. I've done a couple of them and anything you need related to engineering or construction, I probably can help.
Yeah, so some of the projects you've worked on before, I mean, I've seen some amazing stuff that you've designed, but would you give us an example of really what the process would be to build your own property?
So basically, first we need a plot and a plan. After we have to do the engineering part of the plan, and
we've been muted. Marco's been muted.
oh, hello.
Hello. Sorry.
Okay, I was shut off. No, I was saying that we need to submit the plans to the council. After that, we can get the building license. After the building license, we have a quote. Once the quote is accepted, we can start building. Yeah, basically that's it.
Okay. So how would so for finding the plot of land that they obviously would come through us as an estate agent, is there anything that they need to look out for when they're buying a plot of land of whether they'll be able to build?
No, there are yes, there's a lot that needs to be done before buying a plot of land, because we have here in the Algarve we have a lot of environmental regulations and also agricultural regulations, and due diligence regarding these, basically these two factors is very important. It's very important because you can't build on 90% of the Algarve, or more than 90% of the Algarve. It's impossible to build. Regulations do not allow. So it's very important to choose the piece of land that you like, and to make sure before you proceed with the purchase that what you desire to build there is possible to build.
Okay, so it's good to go with someone who knows what they're looking for, so they can
very,
help.
very important.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so then do the clients then design their own house with you?
Yeah. Hugo can help with that probably.
Yes, what Marco was telling, it's this. We need, before the purchase of the land, it's quite important for us to analyze it first, to know that it's possible to build what the client wants. Okay, we have a lot of regulations, and we need to make sure that what the client wants to do, it's possible on that piece of land. After that, we normally work. Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
And normally what we do is we ask to the clients to make a program. So basically the program comes out with the number of bedrooms, how they want the house, how they live on the house, if they want a pool or not, if they want a basement or not. And after that, we progress with the project. The project normally takes some time up until the moment that the client, we achieve what the client wants. And our paper role here, it's not to put our conditions, it's to help the client to achieve the best product under those conditions that the regulations give it to us and the idea of the client.
Okay, thank you. Someone's asking about the energy ratings. They said, is it equivalent of the SAP? I don't know if you know that. Energy ratings that they have in the UK.
What we have, we have a lot of regulations, and we must fulfill a lot of regulations, and they are growing every year. So the houses are coming better and better every year as well. Marco can explain that better than me because he's a civil engineer, but we have the acoustic regulations, we have the thermal regulations, we have a lot of regulations, so we always try to go better than the regulation itself. So we use materials and ways of construction to achieve always the best standard possible.
Okay. And so if someone's buying a property that already exists, but they want to extend or do building work on, what's the regulations like for something like that?
Well, it depends on where you have the house, okay? Imagine that it's in Villa Sol. So we have the regulation of the Villa Sol itself, right? So we have to fulfill those regulations. If it is on agriculture area, we need to know exactly what are the regulations for us to make the project. So before the purchase of the land, it's quite important for the client to give to us an email or a question for us to say, yes, this is possible, this is not possible, we have this restriction, that restriction, for the client to know exactly what is possible and to don't have any surprise.
Okay. I think Chris wants to be unmuted.
Yeah, sorry. So I'll give you an example of that. So last week we had a property up for sale. It was on Villa Sol, and the vendor said, you know what, I've got a business in Madeira. I'm willing to reduce the price by 200,000. We found the client who wanted to buy it that day, and we introduced them to Hugo. Hugo said, yeah, you know, the villa's built only on one floor. It's 4 bedrooms. It needs a really good refurb doing to it. And Hugo was able to tell them straight away if they could go any bigger, what they could do to the property, what they can't do to the property. So that was really good. I mean, he felt really well informed. We arranged then a meeting with Ricardo, the lawyer, and he reserved the property, and we should be signing the contract. And his plan is to, I mean, it's an old house. I mean, it's probably, I think, 25 years old, that house, Hugo.
Yeah, more or less. It's from the 90s.
From the 90s. And they're going to fully refurbish it, new windows, new kitchens, new bathrooms. I mean, at first I said, I don't know if you'd put an extra floor on that, because I know you'd have to reinforce the ground floor. So I didn't know if it was worth it, to tell you the truth, because it's still quite a big villa. But then the plot's really big as well. I think the plot was 2,000 square meters. And it's the equivalent, I think, of getting a villa for, I think they paid $685 for it. I mean, if they spent 300,000 on that, that'd be worth 1.5 million for sure. So, and that's the regular selling price of a nice new villa in Villa Sol.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's some of the services, and it's great having you here on Villa Sol, because the clients can walk into our office and then we can just bring them directly to you, introduce you to them and give them all the professional advice. And the other thing I'd like to ask is, what has been your favourite projects to do?
Well, all the projects are special, all of them. Each one of them, it's a unique piece. Okay, we do the project. Each one of them, it's unique and have different solutions and have normally special things on it. We do a lot of houses, apartments as well, and we sometimes have different projects to do as hotels and things like that. But they don't come every day. We are more into habitation projects than the rest of it.
I saw one of the projects actually that you designed up in Alt, and I think it was, is it 3 or 4 loft houses, where the small 1-bedroom houses with an extra possibility to put a room upstairs. Because the vendor came to me and he said, I've decided not to build the project, would you like to sell it? And I thought that was really reasonable. It was only, I think off the top of my head, 150,000 euros. And that's to be, is it 3 houses or 4 houses?
It's 4 flats.
4 flats.
Yeah.
But that was really nice, really well designed.
Yeah.
And Marco, one of the other projects that I really liked of yours, and you took me to it about 3 weeks ago, was the house just on the outskirts of Quinta do Lago. So how long did that take to build?
That took 14 months, roughly 13, 14 months to finish. But it's a big house. It's around 800 square meter of closed area, plus 600 of terraces and the pool and all that garden that the house has.
What was it like getting the planning permission for that one?
What was what? Sorry?
How easy was it to get the planning permission for that one?
No, at that particular property was not a problem because the land is 6,000 square meters. It's a big piece of land. So it was allowed a big house as well. So there was not very hard to get the planning permission.
That's good. And what projects have you got coming up?
Coming up, we have a house in Valdelombo that Hugo designed, a beautiful house that we should be starting very soon, depending on the council. But we should be starting probably in September. It's right on the golf course. It's an amazing house. And we have a big house just finishing up in Fonte Santa. Also a 1,000 square meter house, very big and very unique as well, house.
That's cool. And also we spent a bit of time, 3 of us, me, Hugo and Marco, we spent a bit of time about 3 weeks ago looking at a project that we've got coming up on it's very close to Villa Sol. It's a really unique big plot. It's 10,000 square meters of, 20,000 square meters of land with an orange grove. The property is, the outside construction's up, and the developer there is decided to walk away from the project. And that's up for sale for 850,000 euros. And I think your quote to finish it was going to be around about 90,000, just excluding the pool, because then people can design whatever type of pool they want. And that was a really nice one. I mean, houses like that, there's a property for sale there with a smaller plot, 3 bedrooms, and that's up for 1.9 million. So it's quite easy to see that, yeah, you'd have to wait a bit of time. It'd probably take 9 months to 12 months to get the property finished. So you're paying 850 for the property, including the build and the pool, you're probably looking at about another 350. And then you've got a house worth 2 million euros. So that would be an amazing site to be on. And all the fresh oranges that you could ever dream of having. Every time we went up there, just so many oranges. And even the oranges create an income for the property as well. So every year, the income from the oranges is 15,000 euros. So that would definitely help with the upkeep of, you know, paying your bills, paying your mortgage. We did a mortgage simulation on the property, and the mortgage was coming in at around about 2,000 euros a month. And we did a rental feasibility study, and it would rent out for about 8,000 euros in high season. So it would make a good investment. I mean, it'd be a very big project to take on, but fortune favours the brave. So that could be a good one. Keep trying to get Angela to buy it.
No, not yet. We've got a few questions. So someone's saying, I understand that high humidity can be a challenge. Do you have to have a special way of dealing with this?
Sorry, what is the question?
So it's about high humidity. They're saying that
I can answer that, Angela.
Okay.
We have one of the peculiarities of the weather here in the Algarve is that we have on the same day very high humidities and very low humidity levels in the same 24 hours. we can have at the nighttime 85, 90% humidity, and during the day we can go to 20 or even 15% relative humidity. For instance, now in July, that is a big challenge for houses, especially if they're second homes and they're closed. If people are using the house and the windows are open and people go in and out of the house, the humidity levels balance off and don't create problems. But if the house is closed, problems can come up. In the summer, it doesn't create a problem. At winter time, it creates. What we recommend to clients is either program the air conditioning for 1 hour a day to do dehumidification, to take the humidity out, or they can leave the heating system just set for 16 degrees, which doesn't use very much energy and is enough for the humidity to avoid condensation, basically. The humidity is there, but doesn't create a problem. The clothes don't smell bad, and wood work of the house, like doors and wardrobes, the doors always close and open. They're not affected by the humidity. It's a very simple way of maintaining. If you're using the house, naturally, there are no problems in the house. If you're not using, you either have a dehumidification system, either dehumidifiers or the air conditioning, or you have the heating just at 16 degrees. It's not, it will not use a lot of energy because we don't have negative temperatures here. Even in the winter, we have 10 degrees and that's it.
Okay, thank you. And also, what are the insurance policies to cover the house? Like, how many years build insurance do you get when you have a house built?
When you have a house built, you get 5 years warranty for everything in the house, except electrical devices. Anything electrical, it has 2 years warranty. Okay, or whatever the manufacturer's warranty is. For instance, we know Bosch, they do 3 years, and others even 5 years, and it depends on the brands, but the minimum 2 years.
Okay, and the actual build of it, the property,
and the build,
is
it's 5 years for cracks, for everything.
Okay. How easy and competitive is the build cost?
Yeah, the build cost is here in the Algarve is a little bit more expensive than in the rest of the Portugal, of continental Portugal, because there are no factories of anything basically here. Everything has to come out of Spain or out of the north, so that takes the prices a little bit higher. But compared, for instance, to Spain, it's cheaper to build here than in Spain.
Okay.
Probably because of labor. Labor is very expensive in Spain when compared to Portugal.
So what's the main advantages of having a property built rather than buying one that's already done?
The main advantage is that you build your desires to the finest detail. You can do what you imagine. If it can be designed, it can be built. So that's a big advantage. The disadvantage is that you have to wait for it. It's already built, it's there. You move in and you start enjoying the house.
I think the other thing to bring up with that is the money saving as well. And I've got a client on Villasol, good friend of mine. He bought a plot for 510,000. His build cost for a really nice villa with a nice swimming pool is going to be around 500,000. The property next door to it, which is probably 8 or 10 years old, is up for sale for 1.6 million. So including all his costs and furnishing and everything, he's going to save probably 400,000 or 500,000 and have something that's personal, well designed. They decided to buy on Villasol because every summer they would come here and they would come for 2 weeks and they'd spend 20,000 euros on rent. And it was just getting to the point where they really enjoyed it. They've been coming for 5 or 6 years, and they'll make a good investment from that. And with that as well, we arranged for them to get a mortgage on the land and they can also finance some of the building project as well. So that's a good one to look out for.
Has anybody got any more questions that they can put onto chat for us to ask Hugo and Marco?
Oh, we've got one coming through now.
So, do you need special precautions regarding soil conditions and earthquakes?
Soil conditions for here for villas, we normally do not do a soil test because we more or less we basically know how the soil is going to behave. In some particular cases, when we're doing the digging, if we find that there's something that may not be as we think it can be or it should be, we order a soil test and we get the soil test done, and the structural plan is adjusted to the results of the soil test. Regarding earthquake, we have a very strict structural rules. The law regarding structures is very strict. People are amazed when they see a structure for a house being built. They're amazed by the amount of concrete that we use. We don't use that because we want to waste money. We use that because the regulations force us to. The house will not have a building license without fulfilling the structural regulations, especially earthquake resistance. I don't know if you know this, one of the biggest earthquakes that ever happened on planet Earth was in 1755 that destroyed Lisbon, destroyed totally the Algarve and destroyed Lisbon. So there's an awareness for that here in Portugal, especially in the Algarve. The Algarve is taken very seriously, and then people follow the regulations.
I always remember helping a client 10 years ago get a swimming pool, and they said, can you price up a fiberglass swimming pool versus a tiled swimming pool? And when I went to see the man who sold the fiberglass ones, he said, because of the earthquakes, you should always have fiberglass. But then when I went to go see the man who was going to do the tiled pool, he said, because of the earthquakes, you should have a tiled pool. So I've never got to the bottom of that. So I don't know what is the best. Is it best to have a fiberglass pool, or is it best to have a cement and concrete tiled pool?
I will answer. Concrete is always better.
Yeah. Why
Yes.
is that?
No, concrete is stone. It hardens with time. Concrete, it's a real pool. And it will be here in 50 years from now. It will still be here. So if you want it here.
I think another thing that worries people as well is if they buy the plot, is how do they know they're going to get planning permission? That's always a question that comes up.
That's why we need to analyze before. Sometimes, because, as you know, laws are not 100% clear, and sometimes when we have doubts, we do what we call a previous request to the city council. The previous request, it's an official request, and you don't need to be the owner to do that. You can do it. Imagine this. Let's put it like this. Imagine, Chris, you wanted to buy this plot of land, and I would have some questions about it, okay? And I could not give it to you a straight answer. What I would say to you would be this. Chris, make a contract, okay, with the seller, subjected to the approval of a previous request. So we do the previous request, it goes to the council, and basically we already have the design of the house, or at least the footprint, the heights, everything. And if the city council accepts that, that's a document that it's valid for 1 year, okay? So in a period of 1 year, you have to progress for the execution of the architectural projects and to get it approved. So when we have questions, and sometimes they happen, I'm not a big fan to go to the council and have just a chat, because we don't have anything on writing. I prefer to have everything on writing, have a document from the city council, so the client will have a document that it's a proof that he can build that house on that land.
Okay. And then back to prices. So imagine a client came to us and said, you know, I've got a plot of land, it's 1,000 square meters. I want to build a 3-bedroom detached villa that's going to be 250 square meters. How much would you tell the client to expect to pay for that?
Building costs can vary from 1,000 euros a square meter until 1,500 euros square meter. Within this range, we can have a good quality building standard. So a house like that may go up to 300,000, something like that, with a swimming pool and exterior works, a bit of exterior works.
Okay. And would you say it depends on location, or just more the quality of the build or the finishings?
It depends on the plot. Some plots are more difficult to build than other plots, and depends on the standard. If on the amount of equipment the client wants to have in the house, and then the standard of the finishings, and also the architectural plan. Some architectural designs are more expensive to build than others. So it will depend on the plot, on the design, if it is a simple design or a more elaborate design, and then the equipment the client wants to have installed in the house, and the standard of the finishings, because we can have tiles from 15 euros until 200 euros per square meter. That makes, and tiles and taps, everything makes a difference.
I always remember one of the jobs that you did, and I think they were close to the 200 euros per square meter for a tile. And I always remember you saying, I don't want any of my staff to drop any of the tiles.
Yeah, that happens.
We've got a few questions. Does Marco or Hugo find a builder to execute the works?
So with that, so Marco is the builder. So Marco's got 3 teams of staff. So Marco would give you a quote for the building. It's always best to have a few meetings with him. So first of all, you'd meet with Hugo, he'd do the design. Then you'd meet with Marco, he'd give you a quote on the work. That process usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks. And then when you give him the yes, you arrange stage payments throughout the build. So if it's going to be a 12-month build, you'd probably pay in 4 or 5 different stages. And then Hugo and Marco will get you the habitation license at the end. I've done this for my projects as well. So they'll go through all the regulations and simply hand you the keys to your brand new property at the end.
And there'll be contracts between the client and Marco and Hugo?
Yeah. So there'll be I mean, anything to add on that, Marco, that I missed?
No, that's basically it.
Yeah, so it's a contract between you and the client.
Yeah.
The added service that we offer is we'll go in, because the clients are usually not here when the work's happening. And I'm always intrigued. I always like coming up to the building sites, as you know. So I usually go up there, FaceTime the clients, can show them how the building process is coming along. I usually try and do that at least once every 2 weeks. So yeah, it's nice to see something coming out of the ground and then seeing the finished project at the end.
Okay, someone's saying that they've seen several properties which have been started but not finished, and they seem to have been stopped about 5 years ago, or maybe more. Should they be avoided?
No, they should not be avoided. Normally, well, it depends. Each case is one case, but they should not be avoided. Normally, the conditions of the structure, it's very good, but we have to analyze each one of the situations, okay? But should not be avoided.
Okay.
Like my property, that had been empty for about 9 years. It was a bank repossession, built about 30 years ago. And I just walked into the bank one day, and my friend who works for the bank said, "We've got this property. Would you like to see it?" It took us both about 30 minutes to find it because he didn't know where it was neither. And we turned up, and it was really nice big plot, but it'd been abandoned for 8 or 9 years. There was palm trees growing into the swimming pool, frogs living in the swimming pool. The house was pink. It just looked atrocious. And I took Hugo and Marco around to look at it, and they could see something that was quite hard to see, but see the finished project. And they really helped me through the process. So I've got obviously a nice finished house now, and that took about 7 months to do. And the nice thing about doing that was there was no planning permission. It was just a refurb project. I opened the house up, some extra windows in there. Yeah, I did new windows, new flooring, a new swimming pool, and now the house is really well done. So it's sometimes it's worth looking out for them bargains that are unloved or repossession that does come along the books. But that's why I like the Orange Grove house, because the structure's already there. Marco's taken a look at it, and with his background has said, "Yep, the structure's fine." Hugo's taken a look at it and said, "Might change a few little bits." But you end up with a house with sea views, 15 minutes from the airport, 5 minutes from Villa Sol, 5 minutes from Villa Mora, 10 minutes to Valdelebo and Quinta del Lago, and you're in there for about 1.1 million in a house that's going to be worth double that in 3 to 5 years' time. So it's definitely worth looking at some of the projects.
Okay, we've got another question. If we build a house and then decide to sell it, how much capital gains tax would we have to pay?
So that's really more of a tax question. We have covered some of this in the webinars before, but we can definitely give you the details of the tax advisor. It depends as well, because if it became your main residence for 6 months, you reinvest the money within 2 years, then you don't pay any capital gains tax. So, but worst case scenario, if it was a pure investment, let's say you brought the land for 100, you spent 300 on the build, so you're in there for 400, and you sold it for 600. So your gain would be 200,000. You'd pay a maximum of 28% on that.
Okay. Has anybody else got any more questions they would like to add? We don't seem to have got any questions at the moment.
What we can do now is we'll get Tia to drop in Marco's email address, Hugo's email address, and I'll put my phone number and email address in there as well. If anyone would like to have a one-to-one chat, I'm free all afternoon. Are you, Marco and Hugo, are you free this afternoon for a chat?
Yes.
We are going to be on the office all afternoon, so that won't be a problem.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your advice. These are really the experts that I know. So reach out to them, ask them any questions you want to do. And yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.